There are some cities where you instantly understand the hype. Paris has the Eiffel Tower. Mont Saint Michel has this. But Toulouse confused me a little. This pink city does not really have the one iconic structure that the whole world talks about. No Champs-Élysées. There is no grand postcard landmark everywhere you turn. Yet, somehow, the feeling Toulouse gave me was strangely special. I took a route not many tourists would choose. From Mont Saint Michel to Toulouse. Instead of spending 5 hours rushing back to Paris on the high-speed train network, I decided to take the slower western route across France. From Rennes to Nantes. Then Bordeaux, Agen, and finally Toulouse after a 3 days 2 nights stop-and-go rail journey. This entire journey was planned completely on the go. Day by day, minute by minute. To be frank, I was worried this unplanned detour through Western France would derail the rest of my trip. And yes, it did eat into my schedule. Some parts of my original journey would now need to be compromised. But that problem belongs to my future self. Right now, I just wanted to enjoy the freedom of moving slowly across France by rail. So far, I have already clocked 1,784 kilometers on rail since leaving Zurich. And somehow, the slower this journey became, the more memorable it started to feel. I feel so relieved now that I am finally in Toulouse. While traveling, I also discovered I could reach Andorra to Toulouse instead of continuing further south to Barcelona. This route is far less known. So I went to the bus station beside Toulouse Matabiau to do a quick recce. Direct buses from Toulouse to Andorra do exist. But I still am not totally convinced because I couldn't properly speak to anyone at the station. Still, at least now I know where I can still go tomorrow. Tomorrow is the day I need to execute my plan perfectly, with almost no margin for error. So I decided to book a hotel near the bus terminal to make things easier for tomorrow morning. I even plan to return to the terminal later in the evening, hoping I could speak to the bus driver coming back from the return journey and confirm everything properly. The area around the station honestly feels a little rough and rowdy, especially after dark. But once I finally got inside my room, I immediately felt calmer. For tonight, I'm staying at Hôtel Le Pastel, probably the most budget option I could find at around 50 euros. Nothing luxurious, but for tonight, peace of mind matters more than comfort. I quickly dropped my bag and switched into sightseeing mode. I only had 3 hours before darkness, and tomorrow morning I have to leave Toulouse immediately. So realistically, 3 hours was all I have in this city. Earlier the day, most of my time on the train was spent researching transport from Toulouse to Andorra instead of planning sightseeing. Rue des Lorraine becomes my entry point into the old city. A long pedestrian shopping street filled with cafes, shops, and people. Yet, the atmosphere still feels calm instead of stressful. What surprised me most was how few international tourists I saw here instead of Paris. Toulouse is often known for its slower southern French atmosphere and relaxed pace. And that gave me a very relaxed feeling too. Just a few turns later, I reached Donjon du Capitole. It is big, bulky, pink, and impossible to miss. The interior was still under renovation during my visit, so I can only admire it from outside. Still, Toulouse really know how to make bricks look elegant. Just behind it is Place du Capitole, and wow, this square is impressive. Huge open space, grand facade, and people simply relaxing around the square. Somehow, it reminded me of Plaza Mayor in Madrid, one of Spain's most famous historic squares. And of course, I have to do my usual 360 degrees spinning camera shots right in front in the middle of the square, just like the times I did in Madrid. I probably look a little stupid doing it, but that is part of the fun of travel filming sometimes. If you have not noticed by now, Toulouse is famously known as La Ville Rose, or the Pink City, because of its pink terracotta buildings that changes color under different sunlight. Unfortunately, the weather is not great today, so the famous pink glow did not stood out so much. A short walk later, I arrived at the Church of Our Lady of Tours. Restoration works are happening during my visit, but the tall brick facade still stood proudly between the surrounding buildings. With very few tourists around, I slowly stopped feeling like a visitor and started feeling like a local casually walking through the neighborhood. The atmosphere felt secure, calm, and incredibly comfortable. Toulouse is very well signposted, and honestly, that really helped me a lot while navigating around the city and identifying places of interest. And then came the highlights for me: Basilique Saint-Sernin de Toulouse. Like a bamboo shoot, that tower just shot straight into the sky. Unique, elegant, and somewhat very powerful without even trying. The Basilica is also one of the largest remaining Romanesque churches in Europe and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. What surprised me even more is the atmosphere around Place Basilique Saint-Sernin. Just one street away from the tourist crowd, everything suddenly became quieter. The little square felt peaceful, calm, and incredibly relaxing compared to the busy city center. And honestly, I really like this neighborhood. The streets feel calm, almost completely devoid of tourists during my visit, with a much slower and more local atmosphere. Old residential houses, no noisy business activities, no rushing crowds. Just a quiet neighborhood that feels genuinely lived in. At this point, I feel totally immersed in this city of pink bricks. For a city I only explored for a few hours, Toulouse is leaving me a surprisingly strong impression on me. Toulouse has this subtle, understated vibe. Not flashy, not overly touristy, just beautifully quiet in its own way. Finally, I walked past Couvent des Jacobins. The high pink brick wall almost make it feel like a fortress quietly hiding inside a city. Built by the Dominican order in the 13th century, this monastery is considered one of its finest examples of southern French Gothic architecture. Even without entering, the exterior alone already carries this calm and mysterious atmosphere that perfectly matched Toulouse. Toulouse is often celebrated as the culinary capital of southern West France. So naturally, I become curious. What exactly makes French people willingly queue up for food? But as much as I wanted to properly sit down and try the local cuisine, my mind is still preoccupied with tomorrow's logistic to Andorra. I still have gaps in my transport planning. So instead of a long dinner, I decided to do a quick and simple meal at KFC Toulouse before continuing my planning for tomorrow. I continue walking towards the river where La Daurade is located. And the atmosphere here feels completely different from the busy shopping streets earlier. Back in the olden days, this riverside used to be the center of trading and business activities in Toulouse. Today, leisure has completely taken over. People are sitting by the river, chatting, relaxing, and doing absolutely nothing. Somehow, that becomes the charm of this place. La Daurade is now one of the city's most popular riverside gathering spots along the Garonne River. Ironically, even though I am rushing around trying to finish all my camera shots before sunset, I still feel totally relaxed here. What makes it even more special for me is realizing this same Garonne River traces all the way back to Bordeaux, the city I was in just a few days earlier. Somehow, it created this invisible connection between the places I had traveled through. This part of Toulouse completely sealed my liking for this city. Walking beside the high red flood walls and underneath the old bridge gives me this surreal feeling that is hard to properly explain on camera. Thanks for following this journey all the way till the end. If you enjoyed this video, do give it a like and leave a comment below. It really helps this channel grow and keeps journey like this going. And if you have not subscribed yet, consider subscribing so you will not miss my next travel adventure. Tomorrow, I will be heading to my edited country, Andorra. A tiny country hidden deep in the Pyrenees Mountains between France and Spain. Stay tuned.